Good morning, good midday. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate your time. And my intention is that I can leave you with some information and tools and strategies to help take care of you, of yourself. Because what I've learned being a caregiver and a helper, like you all are, is it can become very natural and easy to be taking care of other people. And that's in our workplace and our home. Whether you're mom, wife, daughter, sister, niece, and for the men joining the different roles you have, it can be easy to take care of others in all areas of our life and put ourselves on the back burner. And we can really be at our best when we take care of ourselves, and then we can take care of others. So I'm going to give a brief overview of health esteem and go over some everyday work habits and some easy self-care strategies and checking in with yourself and a bit of nutritional information. And I'll definitely leave time for questions at the end because I want this to be interactive and I always learn when I present. So I'm keen to hear your questions, feedback. So health esteem is essentially how confident you feel in your health and in your body. So that's your physical body and also your mental, emotional health. And again, it's not about perfection or discipline. We all have difficult days, we all have challenges, but ideally, on the balance, the majority of the time, we want to feel confident in our health and our body and what it can do. And it's a chicken and egg concept I think of with health esteem. So when we practice self care and when we know how to take care of ourselves, that's what builds our health esteem and we feel confident and good. And the flip side is when we have high health esteem, we're much more likely to keep that cycle going and to take time to care for ourselves, whatever way that can be. So how do we care for ourselves? We're all caregivers and that comes easily. These questions are things for you to consider and see if you can relate to them. Sometimes as helpers and caregivers, we can automatically and intuitively attune to others and sense what they might need even before they know it. And it's just something we do instinctively. And it's not a fluke that we fall into a caregiving role or helping profession. This is super common in medicine and all healthcare. And we can have a difficult time actually knowing what we need, which is a little bit crazy if you think about it. But I know this really caught up with me once I was a full-time family doctor and a mom and had kids of my own and a family. But when there's so much going on, we can start attuning to others much more readily than attuning to ourselves. And also, if you're a helper and caregiver, you can find it hard to ask for help. And there's a little bit of pride in that. And sometimes we attach our sense of self-worth and our importance to being a helper and how much we can do. And so that means every day it starts afresh, like to feel good about ourselves, we need to be helping. And being a helper is not a problem, but it becomes an issue if we're sacrificing our own health and needs and we're not taking care of ourselves. And we can't make that space. But also, we can just start to minimize our needs and then even deny them. And then we don't know what they are because it's such a self-fulfilling cycle. And I know for me, after a back-to-back day of taking care of others and being engaged, I might not even know what I need. And that can be okay. Just being mindful of that, it's a practice to integrate, has been really helpful.
Hi, Bryn. If you're sharing some questions, do you mind resharing your screen? We just can't see it right now.
Oh, um, thank you. Let me just be much easier. Share, desktop, share. I'll go to view. Is that working?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Normal, reading view. Okay. I just will quickly let people see what I've been talking about. So just a quick definition of health esteem. It's the confidence we have in our body and in our health, and it's not about perfection or discipline. And we're building when we take care of ourselves, we can build our health esteem. I'll just get into. There we go. And this is just a checklist of sometimes you might notice you can check in, you can attune to others' needs better than your own, and you can have a hard time asking for help. And after a day of taking care of others, you might not even know what you need. No. So here is just where I started sharing my screen. Check in with yourself and see if you can relate to these things. If you can tune into others' feelings more than your own, if you can minimize your needs because you don't want to be a bother, you don't want to seem needy, and that might be past programming where you just thought, for me to get attention and feel worthy, I need to help and stand out. It can be a struggle to know what you need. And then when you do know what you need, it can be hard to ask for it. And there's some vulnerability there because you can risk rejection or not getting what you need. And you might need to feel appreciated or helpful to feel satisfied. And that's okay to have some of that. I think for those of us who are caregivers and helpers, it's just what we do. Things fall into our laps all the time, and we have an ability to help people. And that part is wonderful. We just don't want to sacrifice our own needs, and we want to have those healthy boundaries so we can be at our best and have our health at our best. And there can be some pride in being needed where it can feel really good. And in a way, we can feel more important or think, well, other people have needs, but I don't. I can just motor on and do everything and be a helper and an achiever, be productive. But that is kind of cutting off a part of ourselves. Like every human has needs and desires. And so why do I care about health esteem? Well, we know rates of burnout and fatigue and disconnection are very high especially in the healthcare profession. And when we self-sacrifice and if we don't know our needs, this just increases our risk. So self-care is taking care of ourselves is actually protective. So it's good for our physical body and mental emotional health. And it might appear as selfish or needy, but really it's the opposite because we are enabling ourselves to keep not just surviving, but to thrive so that we can be at our best. And that's how we impact others the best, where we can be leaders and show up as our best selves and take care of everyone else. But we can only do that if we take care of ourselves. And really, a third of our lives are spent at work. So that's a lot. That's like a third of our day is spent sleeping, a third of our lives at work. So it's a big deal. So, just a simple check in to ask yourself, do you even check in with yourself in the day and check on how your workday is going? I know, I mean, for me, every day is so different, and each week, how much I have on my plate. And sometimes it feels manageable, other times it's overwhelmed. And I didn't start doing this until recently. I would just plow through work and even take on more work instead of having these check ins. And so I know some of us are in physical work where we're moving our bodies all day. Other of us it might be at a desk or more sedentary all day, and both can be really tiring and hard to maintain a freshness. But I'm sure you can all relate to having fast-paced days where there's not much time for breaks and there's time pressure. And this can get us into the reactive mode, and we're not self-regulating our nervous system. And that's the react instead of respond, and the feeling wired and agitated, and we can't calm down and we can't think clearly. It's like we go into a fear mindset and we lose that kind of frontal brain logical how to make decisions and regulate our emotions. So what are some things we can look at if we don't have nutritious meals or snacks with us? Some of us can hold breath. I know I do that. Like we hold our breaths and we're tense when we're trying to get things done. Not asking for help is actually a really big one, and maybe not even realizing, oh, if I asked for help, this or support, this would be so much easier. Especially in medicine, we are trained to be very independent and responsible on our own, which is not a bad thing, but often support can make things so much better. Sitting still too long, getting into negative self-talk, and we might not even be aware of it, and overscheduling and not pacing our work. Overscheduling is just when we're cramming things back to back. And I know a lot of us, we work in teams and we can't just create our own schedule. But one thing I like to do is divide things into important and urgent. And this can help regulate with the sympathetic, that fight or flight panic mode versus the relaxed calm mode. But when I've got a lot going on, I use the important and urgent method, and I write down with a pen and paper, not at my computer, what is urgent and what is important. And I confirm the urgent is urgent. And with the important, you might be amazed how often, yes, it's important, it needs to get done, but there's not a time pressure like I thought there was, or things can be modified. And this is where communicating is really helpful. When you're working with a team or you're getting a report to someone's depending on you, saying, you don't need excuses, but when people have a reason for what you need, it can really help. So when I say, all of a sudden this week is really dense, can we move a time? Can we move an appointment time or a deadline timeline? What's our flexibility? It can really free things up because, again, every week is so different and what we need. But that important and urgent can really help almost unclutter and de-stress what we have in front of us. So, this reframing productivity, there's never a shortage of things, of people to take care of when we're in healthcare. Like, we know that. And it's easy, I find, to get worked up on the hustle around me. I used to, but we know that that's not sustainable, right? It's like the tortoise and the hare. So, it's real productivity is we want focus and clarity and rest. And it's what the athletes say, like these high, top performing professional athletes all come out and say now, and their trainers say, rest is just as important as our high intensity training sessions, like physical body, but also mental, emotional body. We need rest and, not scrolling on our phones and having these distracting things, but just being able to rest and be calm. And even if you're mindful moment, you're not feeling calm, but you're with that feeling where you're not feeling relaxed, that is restorative. So just remembering that rest serves us and it serves others so we can be better. And when I'm getting flustered, I say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Like slowing my pace down a little bit. It feels like a long time in the moment, but it's actually not making a difference in the day. So what are things we can go to for 5-minute resets during work? Movement, I'm going to show a photo after. You could do really easy, there's stretch bands you can get. They're very inexpensive. And if you get a sore neck or shoulders at a desk job or even with moving your body, just moving your joints around and muscles can really shift things. Simple breath work. The key to remember with any breath work, some people look up different breathing methods. You just want to exhale longer than you inhale. So whatever movement, breathing method you use, you inhale, but then when the exhale is longer than the inhale, that tells your brain you're safe. And if you think about it, if you're in a really panicked moment, so traditionally we think of like the saber-toothed lion that's going to eat us, that calm breathing is not accessible because our body is like, we need to survive and make a plan. But the longer exhale tells our body, okay, the parasympathetic mode is here and I can relax. And so even if you don't feel it in the moment, if you can do some of those breaths, it will help calm your heart rate and help calm your nervous system. Exhale longer than inhale. Hydration, I can't say this enough. Of course, it's so key to keep our fluids up. And if you're someone who does need to drink a lot of water for your energy, or maybe you get headaches, if you feel like you're peeing it out all the time, try adding electrolytes, not the kind with sugar added, but there's loads out there now that are sodium, potassium, and they can help keep your blood volume up and keep you hydrated and retain the fluids you're drinking, especially if you drink coffee and tea. Light, there's loads of evidence coming out now about how effective daylight is. Doesn't mean bright sunshine on a sunny day, but just getting low level daylight first thing in the morning and then even in the daytime to recharge yourself. When you get the light first thing in the morning, it's very cool actually. It's the light through your retina signals your brain to say, okay, it's time to wake up and start our engines, and cortisol comes up. But what it will do is it will naturally trigger in the evening at the end of the day, it's actually time to start releasing melatonin. So there's good evidence for that now. And even just having 10 minutes of daylight in the morning can be helpful. And of course, on a bright, hot summer day, if you're outside at midday, you want a hat and sunblock. You don't want to overdo it. But light can be very energizing, especially if you work where there's not a lot of windows or natural light. And then just intention. Like I call this the capacity check-in because each week is a little bit different in terms of what we have on our plates and our energy, how well we're sleeping, what we're managing at home with the family schedule. And sometimes I'm having a low capacity week, which means I can just do what is urgent, and the other non-urgent but important stuff I need to put to the side because I don't have the capacity. But other days or weeks, I've got lots of energy to work on that other stuff that's important but not urgent. And that's just natural to go with the cycles of our body. Like we're not robots and it's not the same every day. So I find that intention can help when it feels like the to-do list is piling up. So a mini health check-in is actually just to pause and ask, how am I feeling and what do I need right now? And I know this sounds crazy, but I mean, I'm still learning. And this was me, 8 years ago when I started in primary care and I was seeing 30 patients a day. And still sometimes after a very full day, I just won't know what I need. Like, do I need a walk? Do I need a little walk? Do I need a bath? Do I just need to sit and do nothing? Am I really hungry? Like just learning to check in with our bodies, especially if you attune to others very easily and you're around others all the time. It can be really helpful. And for some of you, you might need that 5 or 10 minutes on your own without another human being around. And it doesn't matter how wonderful the other human being or beings might be. It's just that you need that space to really check in with yourself. And also, what's one kind thing I can do for myself? Because I think we forget that when we're just under the gun and we've got so much to do, and then we're feeling like it's never good enough because we can't get ahead. So a little menu just for a review. Chair stretches, I'm going to show those bands in a bit. Doing some deep breathing. See if you can step outside or even have a meeting, a walking meeting outside, or a coffee or connection outside instead of inside. Water, fresh food, snack, and even just set a 2-minute timer. Don't scroll on your phone and daydream or just zone out and do nothing and give your mind a break. It can really help. Okay, so micro movements, they can help boost your circulation and they can help with your mental focus. So these are the bands I'm talking about, and 3 of them cost $15 on Amazon. And if you can use them in various ways, but if you get neck and shoulder soreness from screen and desk work, which I do, you can look on YouTube or Instagram. There's loads of exercises you can do for shoulder rolls, stretches, but even you can do hips and lower legs as well, and chair dips, or some people do desk push-ups. Anything even for a few minutes, it can just give you that shift instead of also a strong cup of coffee or a sugary donut, which can be super tempting when it's like, oh, you feel like you're hitting a wall and you've got more to do. uh, so just remembering our mindset set and reminding ourselves this, because again, I think it's not something we're taught, but rest is productive, will restore, and we're allowed to pause. And I need to pause, and my body's not a machine. And all of these little things add up. There's evidence to show, you might have read or seen titles saying sitting is the new smoking. And that's because the evidence on being sedentary all day, it's really not good for chronic disease risk. But evidence also shows that if people have, let's say, a 30 or 45-minute workout in the morning, but then they sit all day at work, it's actually not as helpful as not having the workout, but then having micro movements throughout the day. So going down the hall or changing floors for a meeting, just walking around and moving your body throughout the day is actually much better for us. So I thought that was interesting for those of us who are more at desk jobs. And just remembering with the self-care, it's not selfish because it's going to prevent burnout, and it can prevent getting to a point where your body's giving you really strong messages that you need some self-care, and then you can be at your best for others. So sleep, I know some of this is genetic. Some people are naturally good sleepers and others aren't. And we all know this, but if you go through a challenging time with crummy sleep, really having devices off for at least 2 hours or 3 hours before bed can be really helpful. And, the knock-on effect of not sleeping well often, like I know for myself and lots of patients say the same, we crave caffeine because we're not rested, and then we crave sugar, and then we feel too tired to physically move our body and exercise. And then we can get that tired and wired feeling. So really honing in on what you need for quality sleep, and of course for disease prevention, is so key. And just a few tips for if people do exercise in the evening, we need a cooler core temperature to fall asleep. So a hot bath can cool your inner core temperature because your vasculature, the blood flow is more to your skin versus than internally. And you want a cool room because a warmer room can make it harder for your body to fall asleep. And if you are sensitive, don't have caffeine after 12 p.m., even tea, because it depends on genetics, but it does take a long time to metabolize, and it can still be in your body at 8 or 9. This is just interesting. The quarter life of 12 hours. So 1 cup of coffee at noon means that you could still have a quarter of that caffeine in you at midnight. Again, it depends a bit on your genetics, but if you're sensitive, a rule is just no caffeine after 12 p.m. Protein is such a hot topic right now. It's kind of everywhere. And it is important, but it's important to know, whoops, that one size doesn't fit all. So the range is roughly 0.6 milligrams per kilogram of your body weight up to 1.2 and sometimes 1.6. That's quite higher if you're doing a lot of physical training. And we don't track this in blood work, of course. It's how we feel. A rule of thumb is to have some protein at every meal, yes, because we're constantly using amino acids. And then combined with fiber and fats, it helps maintain a steady blood sugar level. And this is just a chart of, I find people are often asking, well, how much is half a chicken breast, or what can I take, or I'm vegetarian, what are vegetarian options, nuts and seeds and tofu. So it can be good to just have an idea. And I find once you try out different snacks or meals, you get a sense of what sits well and what you need. And then fiber is the second thing I'm talking about with protein, because I say it's good for the inside and the outside. On the outside, it keeps us full with the bulk. It lowers our blood sugar levels and it allows us to maintain our weight really well. And then on the inside, it's across the board. It can lower our risk of so many chronic diseases and also help our digestion. And these are just all the statistics on all the benefits to disease prevention. The goal is 25 to 35 grams a day of fiber. And I don't recommend to people, unless they really want to, if they've got body composition or weight goals, tracking macros. But I do think it's really helpful to have an idea of how much fiber you're having day to day. And if you think you're on the low end, you want to increase slowly. Our body can tolerate it. But if you go from a low 10 grams a day, all of a sudden up to 30, you might have gastrointestinal discomfort. But it can really help with satiation and feeling full, and then evening our blood sugar levels because it slows the absorption of glucose. So self-care outside of work, this is just a reminder to us helpers and caregivers. We can naturally give more focus and attention to everyone else outside of us. So at our work and our workplace, what we do for our jobs, for our family and our loved ones and our friends, it just comes naturally to us. And we can forget to take care of ourselves and focus on us. So I invite you to question how much you're focusing on your own well-being in addition to your work and all the people you take care of. And something that can be helpful is see what you need to set up for your lifestyle at home and at work so that you're prepared with healthy routines and what really supports you. So, whether that's figuring out how to fit in your physical activity or exercise at home or healthy meal prep for lunch, maybe even some time on your own or a mindfulness class, or what things are very relaxing for you and bring you back into your body and connect with yourself. Because being a helper is so rewarding, but where it can become not good for our health, and there's loads of evidence for this now, is having these negative emotions dominate, and they're not good for our health. So anger, resentment, or then it eventually, builds up and we explode and we get angry or lose our tempers. Anger is human. We're going to have these emotions, but when they start to dominate, that's not good. And again, evidence shows there's some of these personality types can have a higher incidence of disease, and they just don't feel good to be in. It doesn't feel good when I'm angry or resentful. And we know a type A personality can have a higher risk of heart attack or cardiovascular disease. So it's just gentle reminders and not a criticism at all, because I know I've been there, but we can help and support best when we take care of others. And also when we don't need to be dependent on what we do and how we show up. And so sometimes we can feel the need, I know I can in my past, to be superhuman or to have that pride and feeling needed. And just understanding that doing our best is the best we can do, and also taking care of ourselves. And thinking about what suits you, like I did mention this, but whenever you can, if you're meeting someone sitting, could you meet them and discuss something walking, or even just be outdoors instead of indoors? Giving yourself 10 minutes alone to check in, being on your own and just seeing what you need. And also, actually, you might get really creative solutions or ideas. Sometimes I solve problems, or I'm trying to look for a solution or make things work in my professional or personal life. And I don't realize until I do it that just having that time and that space on my own, ideas will come to me, or creative solutions that they don't have the space to arrive when I'm around people. And that's just part of being, if you're sensitive and you attune to others, it can be hard to attune to yourself when there's other people around. So these are just a few takeaways. If you ever feel the urge to be superhuman or indispensable, and that person that everyone counts on, or even a martyr, and I'm saying this because I used to want to be one, or I was one, and just didn't feel good, just notice and be aware of that, and just remind yourself that having healthy boundaries to take care of yourself is what you need to feel and function your best. And just to know that you're doing the best and the best you can. And if you're not, it's probably just a sign that you need a bit of a break or a rest or even a holiday. And if you feel like you're needing external validation, we need that a little bit. That's natural. But if you need it all the time, or to keep needing it, week in and week out, see if you're undervaluing yourself, and if you how it would feel to just be okay with doing your best, and sometimes not even being recognized for something you've done that was really helpful, almost like anonymously, just knowing that you did your best and being fulfilled from that, and then not dependent on an external factor, which is someone else telling you that you did a good job, or just appreciating you. And I know this sounds cheesy to say, but just embrace and love who you are. And we all have needs. We're human, and we all have limits, and we all have crummy days, and that's okay. And I think the more we talk about it, it actually makes it more enjoyable for our work, and we can give better care. And if you do tend to overgive, just acknowledge how tiring that can be. And I know it happens more easily some weeks than others. And when your work is done, just shift your attention back to yourself and carve out that time to see what you need. And really, it is a practice of self-care so that you can stay at your best. And so my message with Health Esteem is to get to know yourself and your needs and take care of your whole self, and you'll feel the best. But the best part of that is that everyone else will benefit. And for us helpers and caregivers, like, we love that. We just want to help someone else and make a difference. So if you can take care of yourself, you can have the impact you want. And that's the end.
Yeah, so if you have questions for Bryn, just plop them in the chat or the Q&A, and we can get those answered for you.
Hello. Okay. Hi, Vita. Thank you for your feedback. Nice to have you here from Drake Maddox College with your students. Oh, trying to.
So we have a question. If you had to suggest one place to start, what would you suggest? How do we get the most bang for our buck?
That's a great question. Okay, what I will say to my patients who often ask this, is a great question, is look at 5 pillars of self-care and see where you feel as though you could use the most improvement, or you've been wanting to change it because you think it's impairing your well-being. So the 5 pillars are, I go to food, diet, food, sleep, physical movement, purpose, and then connection. And connection is to ourself or to others. So where in those 5 pillars might jump out at you like, oh, I'm really not feeling connected at work or at home to myself, my feelings, or maybe my colleagues who I work with, or a team project didn't do well. That would be connection. Or, food. Maybe you feel like you're consistently not prepared with having healthy food and snacks on the go at work, and you can't access, there's not great food choices, or you're spending a lot of money um, to have fresh food at work, or to try and find it, and you don't feel great. So I would hone in on one of those pillars and just do one so you're not overwhelmed, and see how self-care in that area might really make a difference in your quality of life, or sleep. Like if you're just not a great sleeper, or you're not sleeping well right now, to dive into that.
Awesome. Someone asked, will it be uploaded on the website? Yes, it will. It'll be on our website and our YouTube. Someone else asks, do you have any tips for people currently experiencing burnout and how to get rid of it while staying in the field?
That's a really, really good question. So burnout, the literature, from my understanding, especially in the medical system and us as healthcare providers, in anywhere we work, often it can be the lack of infrastructure and support in our teams and around us in what we need to do and get done, that can be a large factor. So I guess what I'm saying is understanding what you can control for your burnout, what's caused it, and what you can't control. So we all know the system needs more support, and people are working on that. But for our own burnout, if you can really get to the why behind why you're exhausted and out of energy, um, what what has been behind, is it that you've been having to overdo more than your body can withstand to be able to keep up at work? Is it production, like how much you have to do? If you can understand your physical body and also mental, emotional health, what are the thoughts and feelings that are behind the burnout and causing it? Because it can be a little different for everyone in terms of how your workplace is set up, how you're functioning in your personal life. And my understanding is the more detail and awareness you can have around our own personality and how we show up and how we manage stress, that can help prevent future burnout. So reading and education can be really empowering when we learn and understand what can be contributing to burnout. And then we have more choices and understanding really of the context. And if there's factors we can't control, that's hard, but at least we know, well, I can't control that right now, the level of support in the workplace or shortages within the system.